Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello, and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast episode 42. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I have been studying this for 3 decades with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I will share stories, lessons, and insights about people having success in Africa. Why this podcast? Because I am sick and tired of Africa being the poorest continent in the world. We are blessed with the greatest resource, young people. Africa will soon have the largest number of working age people in the world, and when these people achieve success, watch out. Africa's wealth will be unparalleled. Why? Because I don't know of too many Africans whose goal in life it is to die poor. You see, success in life is simply the achievement of a predetermined goal, whether that goal is owning a house and a car, or creating employment for 1,000 people, or transforming your country into a high-income country. This podcast has been created to help you to achieve it. So, if you are serious about achieving success in Africa, I want you to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video after you've watched it, please click the like button. This episode is brought to you courtesy of BCA Leadership, the largest leadership enhancement company in Africa. If you have questions that you would like me to answer after watching this video, just log on to BCA Online, the link is on the screen, and post your questions there. That is where I will answer your questions. Today I'm continuing with a series on political economies. You see, the term political economy simply refers to the nexus between the actions and decisions of government and the actions and decisions of business people. The actions and decisions of each group affects the other, and I will illustrate the importance of understanding the political economies by charting the journeys of 4 people. This is the second episode of the series, and if you missed the first one, that's episode 41, I encourage you to watch it after you completed watching this episode. In that previous episode, we learned from the journey of Chukwuemeka Chikazie, who hails from Sierra Leone and Nigeria. Today, we're moving eastwards. We're going to learn about political economies from the journey of Addis Alemayehou, the Ethiopian chairman of Kazana Group, an investment company with 15 companies in its portfolio, companies that span across various industries like marketing, communications, advertising, fintech, telecom, manufacturing, logistics, technology, investment management, real estate, and business advisory services. Addis was born in Addis Ababa, but his family moved to Nairobi, Kenya, when he was a little boy to escape Ethiopia's then socialist government. At age 17, after he had done most of his secondary school education in Nairobi, he was sent to the USA for 1 year of schooling, and then he moved to Canada. He enrolled at the University of Toronto and studied for a year before he quit university to start doing business. He bought his first piece of real estate at age 18, and by the time he was 21, he owned 3 properties. At 29, Addis and some of his partners approached Vodacom and MTN to partner with him to acquire a telecommunications license in Ethiopia. Vodafone was interested, and eventually they signed an MOU with Addis. Unfortunately, nothing came of the deal because the government of Ethiopia did not allow any mobile operator beside the state-owned Ethio Telecom into the country. This was around the year 2000. Now, despite the negative experience that Addis had with this telecoms license, which, by the way, cost him large sums of money that he did not recoup. He learned the importance through this experience of understanding the political economy. After abandoning the telecoms license, Addis began working for USAID, that's the United States Agency for International Development. So the USAID office in Ethiopia hired him because the US government had just introduced AGOA, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which allowed qualified African countries to export products to the USA duty-free. Now, Addis's job was to find Ethiopian companies which had products ready for export and connect them to buyers in the United States. In the 5 years that he was in this job, Addis learned a lot about the economy of Ethiopia and about the policies of government that create opportunities in certain areas of business and close opportunities in other areas of business. He worked closely with the Ethiopian Ministries of Trade and Industry and learned how government works and how policies get made and implemented. After receiving some encouragement from a Kenyan radio station owner, Addis successfully lobbied regulators in Ethiopia for a radio station license by selling them on the idea that in order to maintain and strengthen Ethiopia's position as Africa's diplomatic capital, there should be an English-speaking radio station that would serve the English-speaking residents and visitors. He was granted a license in 2008 and Afro FM was born, and it quickly became profitable due to revenue from advertisers who were keen to market to affluent expats. In the 2000s, the decade of 2000 to 2010, the government of Ethiopia, which had previously banned foreign investment in a range of sectors, started to ease these restrictions, along with restrictions on local investments in Ethiopia, local private investments. These moves away from a socialist economy to a more capitalist economy, coupled with the large population of the country, started to attract multinational companies into the country. These companies needed help in communicating and marketing to the population, and Addis was quick to jump on this opportunity by creating an advertising, branding, and PR agency, which he called 251 Communications. 251, by the way, is the country code for Ethiopia. 251 Communications quickly started to land multinationals like Heineken, Coca-Cola, Pfizer, Gates Foundation, and other blue-chip talents. Later on, Addis then sold Afro FM and started a TV station, Kana TV, once again because he saw a gap in the market and interest from the government, because there was no local language TV station for Ethiopians, and that is the local language of Amharic. He convinced the regulators, got a license. I hope you're seeing a pattern here. In 2018, a new prime minister came to power in Ethiopia. This new prime minister, a young prime minister, introduced several reforms. He got rid of controversial government officials. He lifted media and internet bans. He announced his intention to open state-owned enterprises to outside investment, and he appealed to Ethiopians in the diaspora to come back or to invest in their home country. When Addis learned of this, he immediately made plans through 251 Communications to set up a real estate expo in December 2018, when large numbers of the Ethiopian diaspora would come home traditionally for Christmas. He also then set up a real estate company to service the clients. He did this knowing that when diaspora want to start investing in their home countries, the first investment they would likely make would be in real estate. Once again, Addis had properly understood the political winds of change and positioned himself and his company to successfully capture the opportunities opened by the changing government policies and priorities. Lately, Addis has focused his attention on investing in tech companies because, as he says, the government of Ethiopia is recognizing technology and digital innovation as a platform to grow the country and move the country forward. So he has positioned himself and Kazana Group to be able to take advantage of the favorable policies of the government towards the industry. He is now so well known and respected that the government consults him in these areas and asks him, hey, how can we partner to move the country forward through technology? It's a great place to be. There's so much that we can learn from the journey of Addis Alemayehou. He has successfully leveraged his understanding of how government works, his relationships with public sector decision makers, and his knowledge of the culture of Ethiopia to start businesses that have been successful. He has kept track of the changes in government focus and adjusted his own business focus to leverage those changes. He has even become an influencer of government policy and is now in the enviable position of having the government decision makers consulting him on which policies to implement and asking him how they can help to increase the success and the impact of his group. This kind of success and influence does not come overnight. It comes from years of cultivating positive relationships, seeking win-win solutions, and pivoting one's business focus to align with the priorities of the government. In the past few years, Addis has sought to spread his business interests into other countries in Africa, and he seeks partnerships with credible entrepreneurs to empower Africa through exponential growth, impactful change, and solving critical problems in Africa. Kazana Group leverages strategic partnerships for its partner companies to improve their chances of success. And Addis, well, he keeps his ear to the political ground to sense changes in policy and focus in order to keep his companies aligned with the priorities of the public sector leaders in the communities where his companies operate. You see, in the old days in the USA, Native American Indians used to put their ears to the ground to listen for the sound of horses or buffalo miles away. Apparently, the ground carried the sound better than the air. The expression, keep your ear to the ground, comes from this action by the American Indians. Addis Alemayehou has built a business empire by doing just this. That's a lesson for all of us to learn from his journey. We've now come to the end of today's episode. I do hope you've learned a bit more about the importance of political economies and how you can leverage your knowledge of them to support the growth and success of your investment. Next week, we will continue with our series on political economies. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Tell your friends about it, because together we can transform our beloved continent of Africa. See you next week.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.